Hi, welcome to CAD 2. Today we're going to be talking about using hatching, sketch, break lines, and leaders. As you can see, I've started out by opening my A and B sized title block template. I'm immediately going to click Save As and name it the assignment that I would be working on. So in this case it would be the building. DWG, and I will save, and then I will start working on my items. So for using the sketch command, the easiest way to do it is just to type sketch and hit enter, and it gives you some options. You can do type, increment, and tolerance. Increment controls how close together you want any gaps to be. Tolerance includes what size of gaps you allow to be considered a solid object, and type gives you polyline, lines, or splines. In this case, we're going to choose type with a T because that's the capital letter, and then I'm going to say I want polylines because I want it to be a solid object. And now I'm going to start sketching. You take your mouse and you click and hold down the button. Then you drag your mouse to do your drawing, however you want to. And then once you're done, you let up on the mouse, which raises your pencil. And then you can either right-click to hit enter and end the command, or you can just hit enter and end the command. And as you see, I now have a line that I've drawn, and you can do rounded lines as well. This lets you hatch inside it if it's a closed shape. We'll be using this when we draw the mounds of earth on our assignment. The next thing that we're going to look at is leaders, and if we go to annotation, you can see that similar to the text manager and the dimension manager, we also have a multi-leadered manager. And so when we click on that, we can set up how we want our leaders to look, and leaders allow us to point to specific parts of the assignment and add text to them. So I'm going to start a new one based off of the standard, and I'm going to call it open because I'm going to use an open arrow type. So I'll click continue, and as I come in, you can see on the blue screen that it gives me the options of doing the different things to the format. I'm going to leave it as straight. I'm going to leave the color by block and the line type and line weight. I am, however, going to change my arrowhead symbol. And in this case, I'm going to choose the open arrowhead with a 30-degree angle because that's what's used in the example drawing that you see. Then I can go to the leader structure, and I'm saying a maximum leader points of 2 because all I'm going to need is the point itself and then the bend in the arrow. I'm not going to need a bunch of other segments. If I did, I would put in segment angles. Then I can put in landing settings if I wish to, talking about how long this part is or whether there is a landing point at all. And then if I needed to, I could do scales and change it to annotated. I'm not going to bother with that right now. So now I'll say OK and set this one to my current style and close. Then I can go back into Home and change it over to a text layer of some kind, or dimension layer, and then I can go and do my leaders. If I click on just the basic one, it's going to do a multi-leader. I could also type LE if I wanted to do a quick leader. So by clicking on this, it then says where do you want the arrowhead location, or if I wanted to, I could select to do the landing first, the text first, or check some other options. But I'm just going to click where I want the arrowhead to point at. Sorry, my mouse is moving a little slowly today. So I'll click here and then drag back to where I want it to go. And we always want our leaders to be angled so they don't look like they're part of the drawing. And then at this point, I could type my text. And hit enter, enter. Oh, actually that would be if it was single text. So then I can just click outside of it, and you see that the notes about leader are listed on top of the leader line. If you don't want it on top of the leader line, that's one of the things that you can change in options. next step is going to be looking at hatching. And for hatching, I'm going to show it to you inside of a circle. There are different options. You can do hatching based on an object, which is what we're going to be doing. You can do hatching by hatching the area enclosed by a series of objects, as long as it's a closed area, because you need to have a boundary. Or finally, you can use pick points, and you can choose the sections that you want to have included in your hatch. So in order to start this, I could go to annotate for hatch, no, sorry, insert for hatch. Nope, again. Oh, express tools for hatch, sorry. Or on the home bar, you can just do the hatch command here, and you can choose hatch, gradient, or creating a boundary from an enclosed area. So you'd be able to use it even if it was a dotted line or something like that, as long as you chose it as a boundary. I'm going to just pick the basic hatch, and you see it opens up my hatch managing toolbar. If I want more details on this, I could open the options hatch setting box, and now you see that I have different actions, and then further opening it allows me to look at islands, which I can use to control how the hatch works around things that are placed in the middle of my object, such as text. So I'm going to cancel out of that because I don't need it at the moment. I'm going to use the basic ANSI 31 hatch here, so I'll make sure that's the one selected. I can choose the angle if I want to rotate it at a different angle, because I don't want my lines to be perpendicular to my drawing or parallel to them. And I could change the scale if I needed to, based on the size. So as I hover over the circle, you can see that it automatically fills in the closed area. And as I do that, you can see that my lines are at a pretty good spacing. If my object were a lot bigger or my scale were a lot smaller, you would see that it would look fairly dense, almost solid. Sometimes it will even actually look solid, and that usually means that you have your scale set wrong. Okay, so I'm going to go back to here, and I'm going to look in there and say yes, I like that. And then I could go on to hatch other objects. They would all be treated like blocks, and the hatch would be considered part of the same one, which means that if you changed the pattern on one, they would all change. So I'm actually going to close the hatch creation because I need to do another kind of hatch for something else. So for this example, I would do, in this case, another circle, but you'll be doing the foundation blocks of your building. And I would click here, and then go to the hatch, and scroll down until I found the one for concrete, which is this one right here, and go in. And as you can see, it looks really dense, so my scale is too small. I'm going to try a bigger scale and see how that looks. It's still pretty small, looks like. So let's see. Oh, it actually might be too large. Let's see if it's too, because it might be only showing us, yes, it was too large. It was only showing us one of the dots at full size. So now I can click here, and this happens to be what they use for concrete because it represents the pebbles and the stones inside the concrete. And that is it for this assignment. Oh, one more thing, how to do the breakline. If you go to Express Tools, and under the Draw section, you get the breakline symbol. You can click on it, and you would do specifying the first point that you want to break at, and then the second point based on where it needs to cross through your object. And then it will ask you next, where do you want the break symbol? And typically you're going to have your O-snaps turned on and do the midpoint. And then at this point, if I wanted to, I could also change the size of the break symbol. So I click right there, and that's appropriately sized right now, so I'm happy with that. And this video is over.